They once worked together a long time ago. They're not friends now. They don't like each other. And yeah, 50 has taken every shot, especially when Diddy has been.
Sean Combs didn't just lose his empire. His mother allegedly stole it first. Everyone assumed Diddy's downfall was self-inflicted, a mogul undone by his own excess, until Kirk Burroughs' lawsuit dropped this week, accusing Janice Combs of masterminding the violent 1996 theft of his 25% stake in Bad Boy Records, transferring the shares to herself after her son allegedly threatened him with a baseball bat. Now, sources close to the case say the 84-year-old matriarch isn't just Diddy's biggest defender. She's the one person who's never been sued, raided, or even publicly confronted. Despite allegations, she turned her modeling agency into a brothel for substance dealers and groomed her son into a life of intimate exploitation. Court filings reveal Burroughs, once Diddy's godfather to his son Justin, is now homeless after claiming the Combs family blacklisted him for decades, while Janice lives untouched in the same luxury Diddy's conviction stripped from him. The lawsuit demands a forensic audit of Bad Boy's finances, but the real question isn't about money. It's about why a woman with no official role in the company controlled its darkest secrets, from stolen shares to the freak-off parties that defined its culture. And with 50 Cent's documentary dropping leaked footage of Diddy's final days before arrest, insiders warn the next revelations won't just destroy a legacy, they'll expose the one person who's always stayed in the shadows, pulling the strings.
Interestingly, we haven't seen the indictments yet. There's been some time lag. I suppose it will take some time to go through all the forensic, evidence.
The lawsuit filed by Kirk Burroughs isn't just another legal battle. It's the first crack in the Combs family's untouchable facade, and the timing couldn't be worse. On paper, the case is about a 25% stake in Bad Boy Records allegedly stolen in 1996, when Burroughs claims Diddy stormed into his office with a baseball bat, forced him to sign over his shares, and then transferred them directly to Janice Combs. But people close to the situation say this isn't about money. It's about the one person who's never faced consequences. Court documents reveal Burroughs, once so trusted he was named godfather to Diddy's son Justin, is now living in New York shelters after what he describes as decades of blacklisting by the Combs family. The lawsuit demands millions in lost profits, the return of his stake, and a forensic audit of Bad Boy's finances, something that could uncover far more than missing payments. What's being whispered now is that Janice didn't just receive those shares as a passive beneficiary. She was the one who orchestrated the entire takeover, using her son as the enforcer while keeping her own hands clean. And here's where it stops making sense. If this was just a business dispute, why has no one dared to name Janice in a lawsuit until now, nearly 3 decades later? The answer might lie in the way Janice Combs has always operated, silent, strategic, and just out of reach. Publicly, she's the doting mother, the woman Diddy gifted $1 million check and a Bentley for her 80th birthday, the same woman who stood by him through every scandal, every arrest, every accusation. But industry sources say her role was never just supportive, it was foundational. Former associates describe her modeling agency in the 1990s as more than a business. It was a hub where powerful men with dangerous habits could operate without scrutiny. The allegations don't stop at financial schemes. Insiders claim Janice's agency was the original blueprint for what later became Diddy's infamous private gatherings, where the line between professional and intimate situations blurred beyond recognition. And while Diddy's mansions were raided in 2024, yielding substances, unregistered firearms, and enough personal lubricants to stock a pharmacy, Janice's properties remained untouched. That's when the story starts to bend. If the FBI was digging into a criminal enterprise, why did they stop at Diddy's door?
As I said, never before seen footage of the days leading up to his arrest. Can you just talk a little bit about, was there anything that surprised you from that footage?
The footage, well, I mean, I think it's rare to find someone who's being, talked about all over the country, all eyes were on him, so to speak. And it was really interesting to see his last days of freedom,
The silence around Janice becomes even louder when you look at the legal landscape. Over 100 individuals have come forward with accusations against Diddy, from coercive behavior to violent assaults, yet not a single lawsuit names his mother. Legal analysts point out that this isn't just coincidence, it's calculation. Janice has never been an employee, a board member, or an official representative of Bad Boy Records, which means she's never been within easy reach of subpoenas or financial audits. But the lack of direct ties doesn't explain why Kirk Burroughs, a man who helped build the label from the ground up, is now alleging that she was the mastermind behind its darkest chapter. His filing doesn't just accuse her of fraud. It suggests she used her son's rising power to eliminate threats, rewrite ownership, and ensure that no matter what happened, she would always be protected. And the fact that she's never been forced to answer for any of it, that's not luck, that's leverage. What makes this moment different is the timing. Diddy is already in federal custody, serving a 50-month sentence for transporting individuals across state lines for intimate situations, a conviction that could have been far worse if the jury had agreed on the racketeering charges. His empire is in freefall, his reputation in tatters, and his children are facing public backlash just for bearing his name. Yet Janice remains above it all, untouched by the lawsuits, the documentaries, or the federal investigations. That changed this week when Burroughs' lawsuit landed, and suddenly, the questions aren't just about what Diddy did. They're about what his mother allowed, encouraged, or outright commanded. The forensic audit he's demanding isn't just about recovering his stake. It's about exposing where the money really went and who was pulling the strings when the decisions were made. And if the past is any indication, Janice Combs isn't the type to leave a paper trail.
It was like, wow, for Diddy? What? You know, that was a person that I looked up to. He was a mogul, and I listened to all the artists that he made superstars. And so to have a chance to be able to be signed to him, it was amazing. It was like, oh my God, I'm here. I finally did it.
But the real tension isn't in the lawsuit. It's in the reactions it's triggering. People who've worked with the Combs family for decades are suddenly speaking up, not on the record, but in hushed conversations and deleted social media posts. One former Bad Boy employee, who asked not to be named, claimed that Janice's influence wasn't just financial. It was cultural. She didn't just handle the books. She shaped the environment, deciding who got access, who got paid, and who got silenced. And when the allegations about Diddy's private gatherings started surfacing, the same people noticed that Janice's name was always absent from the discussions, as if there was an unspoken rule: you don't cross the mother. That rule held firm until now, when Burroughs' filing didn't just break it, it shattered it. The question isn't whether Janice was involved, it's how deep the involvement goes and what she's willing to do to keep it buried.
The feeling that I have about the documentary, man, it was just old news, and they took a couple of with the footage from Puff from the days that's leading up him to get arrested, and the incidents with the people from the courts, you know, the two people from the courts. So it was nothing new.
The documentary dropping this month isn't helping her case. 50 Cent's The Reckoning doesn't just focus on Diddy's crimes. It digs into the family dynamics that made them possible. Leaked footage shows Diddy in the days before his arrest, debating media strategy with his lawyers, his voice tight with paranoia. But the most damning moments aren't his. They're the ones where he's not the one talking. Industry insiders claim the documentary includes conversations where Diddy defers to someone off camera, someone whose voice is never heard, but whose presence is undeniable. And while the film doesn't name her, the timing is impossible to ignore. Janice has always been the one person Diddy couldn't afford to disappoint, the one figure even his enemies hesitated to challenge. That's changing now, and the shift is palpable. The lawsuit, the documentary, the sudden willingness of former associates to speak. It all points to the same conclusion. The real reckoning isn't for Diddy. It's for the woman who spent decades making sure it never came. And then there's the matter of the twins. Jesse and Delilah Combs, Diddy's 17-year-old daughters, have become collateral damage in this war. Their social media accounts flooded with harassment, their modeling careers suddenly toxic by association. Their recent TikTok post, A Harmless Day in the Life vlog, was overwhelmed by comments referencing 50 Cent's documentary, forcing them to disable the section entirely. What's telling isn't the backlash, it's the response. The Combs family has always closed ranks in a crisis, but this time, the silence feels different. There are no public statements, no legal threats, no coordinated pushback. Just a quiet, creeping sense that the usual playbook isn't working. And that's when you realize, this isn't just about Diddy's crimes, or even Janice's alleged role. It's about a system that's finally cracking under its own weight. The lawsuit, the documentary, the twins' sudden vulnerability. It's all connected, and it's all leading to the same unavoidable question. If Janice Combs was really the one in control, what happens when that control starts to slip? The most unsettling part isn't the accusations, it's the pattern. In 1996, Kirk Burroughs was allegedly threatened into silence. In 2024, over 100 accusers came forward, but none dared to name Janice. And now, as the walls close in, the one person who's always stayed in the shadows is the only one who hasn't flinched. That's not confidence, that's calculation. And if the past few days have proven anything, it's that Janice Combs doesn't lose. She just waits for the right moment to make her move. The lawsuit is the first domino. The documentary is the second. The question is what falls next, and who's standing in the way when it does. The pattern starts to clarify when you look at how Janice Combs has always operated. Not as a passive figure, but as the architect of a system where loyalty was currency and silence was the price of admission. Take the 2024 raids on Diddy's properties, where federal agents uncovered substances, unregistered firearms, and enough personal lubricants to suggest industrial-scale private gatherings. The media focused on Diddy's downfall, but insiders noticed something else. Janice's homes were never searched. That's not an oversight. It's a signal. Former Bad Boy associates describe her as the ultimate gatekeeper, the one who decided who got access to the inner circle and who got cut off without warning. And when the accusations about Diddy's behavior started surfacing, the same people noticed that Janice's name was always absent from the discussions, as if there was an unspoken understanding that some lines shouldn't be crossed. That understanding held firm until Kirk Burroughs' lawsuit landed, and suddenly, the questions aren't just about what Diddy did. They're about who enabled it, who profited from it, and who's still protecting the system that made it all possible. What makes this moment different is the way the past is resurfacing, not as ancient history, but as a blueprint for the present. The 1996 Bad Boy heist wasn't just a financial crime, it was a power play, and Janice's role in it suggests a much larger operation. Court filings allege that after Diddy forced Burroughs to sign over his shares, the stake wasn't just transferred to Janice, it was absorbed into a network of holdings that have never been fully audited. That's not just theft, it's infrastructure. And when you connect it to the allegations about her modeling agency operating as a front for more dangerous habits, the picture becomes clearer. This wasn't just a family business. It was a family enterprise where the personal and the professional blurred into something far more lucrative and far more protected. The fact that Burroughs, a man who helped build Bad Boy from the ground up, is now living in shelters while Janice remains untouched, isn't just ironic. It's intentional. And the lawsuit isn't just about recovering a stake. It's about exposing the mechanism that kept her safe for decades.
In the moment, it just felt like, what? Like, is this fun for him? Is this like a test?
The real tension isn't in the accusations, it's in the reactions they're triggering. People who've worked with the Combs family for years are suddenly speaking up, not in official statements, but in deleted tweets, private conversations, and cautious leaks. One former employee, who still fears retaliation, described Janice as the ultimate fixer, the person who decided which scandals got buried and which ones got weaponized. And when the allegations about Diddy's private life started surfacing, the same sources say she wasn't just aware, she was prepared. That preparation wasn't just about damage control. It was about ensuring that no matter what happened, the core of the operation remained intact. And that core wasn't Diddy. It was the system Janice built, one where the real power wasn't in the spotlight, but in the shadows, where deals were made, threats were issued, and loyalty was enforced. The lawsuit is the first real challenge to that system in decades. The question isn't whether it will hold up in court. It's what happens when the people who've spent their lives protecting it start realizing they're no longer safe.
They saw the evidence in the case. They immediately honed in on racketeering, and they started saying, why is this racketeering with one guy? And they're charging this one guy. They had a real problem with that. They did not have a problem with the Mann Act. They found him guilty on the Mann Act, and they hung 6 to 6 on racketeering.
And then there's the matter of the twins. Jesse and Delilah Combs have become the unintended focal point of this storm. Their social media presence suddenly toxic. Their modeling careers under threat. Their every move scrutinized for signs of complicity or defiance. Their recent decision to disable comments on their TikTok posts wasn't just about avoiding harassment. It was about controlling the narrative in a world where their last name is now a liability. What's telling isn't the backlash, it's the way the family has responded. There are no coordinated statements, no legal threats, no public shows of unity, just a quiet, creeping sense that the usual playbook isn't working anymore. And that's when you realize, this isn't just about Diddy's crimes, or even Janice's alleged role. It's about a dynasty that's finally cracking under its own weight. The lawsuit, the documentary, the twins' sudden vulnerability, it's all connected, and it's all leading to the same unavoidable question. If Janice Combs was really the one in control, what happens when that control starts to slip?
People I don't think realized was he had cameras all over the place, unbeknownst to them. And now he has all that footage, supposedly. This is what I'm told. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens if, you're a huge, iconic, TV star or movie star, and you're in some...
The most unsettling part isn't the accusations, it's the silence that follows them. In 1996, Kirk Burroughs was allegedly threatened into silence. In 2024, over 100 accusers came forward, but none dared to name Janice. And now, as the walls close in, the one person who's always stayed in the shadows is the only one who hasn't flinched. That's not confidence, that's calculation. And if the past few days have proven anything, it's that Janice Combs doesn't lose. She just waits for the right moment to make her move. The lawsuit is the first domino, the documentary is the second. The question is what falls next, and who's standing in the way when it does. But here's the part no one's talking about. The real damage isn't in what's been exposed. It's in what's still hidden. The forensic audit Burroughs is demanding isn't just about money. It's about uncovering the connections between Janice's modeling agency, Diddy's private gatherings, and the financial trails that lead back to both. And if the past is any indication, those connections won't just implicate her. They'll rewrite the entire story of how Bad Boy Records really operated, and who was pulling the strings the whole time.
I don't know this, but it just seems very suspicious when you go through and you look at in the history of different people that can make you go away if you know. Listen, I've worried about some of the things that I talk about on my show.
The Shakur and Biggie connections are the final piece of the puzzle, the one that turns this from a financial dispute into something far more dangerous. Keffi D's claims that Diddy offered $1 million for Shakur's assassination have been floating around for years, but what's never been explored is the money trail. Who would have authorized a payment like that? Who would have known how to move it without leaving a trace? The answers point back to Janice, the one person who's always been in charge of the finances, the one who's never been tied to the violence, but who's always been there when the deals needed to be made. And now, with Burroughs' lawsuit forcing a potential audit, the question isn't just about stolen shares or private gatherings. It's about whether the Combs family's reach extended far beyond the music industry, and whether the real crimes have yet to be uncovered. The fact that no one has ever dared to name her in a lawsuit isn't a coincidence. It's a strategy, and strategies only work until they don't.
Same thing for Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the interesting thing about the Epstein and the theory about Epstein is we know he filmed people for sure on that island. He has a lot of movies, a lot of films of people that are very, very powerful political figures, and entertainers, business people. So, do you really believe that Jeffrey Epstein himself? And of course not. Of course not. Yeah.
And that's the real story here. This isn't about Diddy's fall from grace. It's about the system that allowed it to happen, the one that's been operating in plain sight for decades, untouched by scandals, untouched by lawsuits, untouched by consequences. Janice Combs didn't just raise a son who became a mogul. She built an empire where the rules didn't apply to her. And now, for the first time, someone's trying to change that. The lawsuit is the first shot. The documentary is the second. The twins' public struggle is the third. And if history is any indication, Janice isn't the type to go down without a fight. The question isn't whether she'll survive this. It's what she'll do to make sure everyone else takes the fall instead. So, here's where we leave it, because this story isn't over. It's just reaching the point where the real questions begin. If Janice Combs was the one calling the shots, how many of Diddy's so-called crimes were actually her operations? Why has no one ever dared to name her in a lawsuit until now? And what changed? Is the forensic audit going to uncover more than missing money, or is this just the beginning of something far bigger? And most importantly, if the Combs family really is a criminal enterprise disguised as a dynasty, who's next to break the silence? Drop your thoughts below, because this isn't just a scandal, it's a reckoning, and we're only seeing the first cracks.